Welcome to Navy Exclusive. What if a single, invisible cyber strike could completely paralyze an entire nation's coastal defense network in under 60 seconds? Today, we are taking you deep inside a high-stakes, real-time naval operation where cutting-edge technology clashes with asymmetric warfare. You will see exactly how American stealth fighters, electronic growlers, and elite special forces coordinated a flawless raid to neutralize a hidden threat. We will break down the precise timing, the hidden submarine ambushes, and the incredible electronics that decided the fate of the Strait of Hormuz, your premier destination for elite military analysis and deep dives into modern naval combat. At 3:17 a.m. off the coast of Kesham Island, a series of red alerts suddenly lit up in the IRGC command center. Monitoring screens simultaneously displayed a strange signal, immediately sending the entire crew on alert. Just seconds later, a takeoff order was issued in absolute silence. Tensions in the Strait of Hormuz escalated as a series of United States vessels and surveillance platforms began experiencing widespread GPS spoofing. With navigation systems drifting off their actual course, commanders quickly confirmed this as a coordinated interference campaign. MQ-4C Tritons and F-35Cs coordinated their intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance missions using electromagnetic and passive sensing, rapidly triangulating the source near Kesham Island. Deep within coastal cliffs, an underground complex known as Precious Jewel was identified as the IRGC primary drone and electronic warfare hub. By 3:20 a.m., an Allied oil tanker nearly strayed straight into danger due to the spoofed signals, prompting Central Command to authorize the immediate neutralization of Precious Jewel. Beneath the Arabian Sea, a Virginia-class submarine deployed a Navy SEAL team via swimmer delivery vehicles toward Kesham. Simultaneously, the United States Carrier Strike Group shifted to a support posture. EA-18G Growlers stood ready for electronic warfare, while A-18E Super Hornets secured the airspace. By 3:31 a.m., as the Navy SEAL team continued to advance toward the Kesham coastline using their specialized underwater vehicles, the IRGC coastal radar network and infrared cameras began detecting unusual signals emerging from the pitch-black waters south of the island. Although the exact nature of the target could not yet be determined, the on-duty officers immediately raised the alert level. They dispatched an A-3 reconnaissance drone, which was patrolling nearby to verify the suspicious area. From the air, the A-3 continuously scanned the sea surface using electro-optical and infrared sensors. The drone scanned the waves but detected no clear targets, showing only intermittent thermal signals near the shore. To avoid missing a potential threat, Iranian commanders quickly expanded the search area. More drones continued to be deployed from Kesham and Bandar Abbas to monitor the approaches around the island, while several Shahd 136 kamikaze drones were launched to apply pressure and stand ready to attack any suspicious targets detected. The escalating scale of the response indicates that the IRGC believed it was facing a threat far more serious than a routine incident. At 3:38 a.m., the MQ-4C Triton continued to monitor all Iranian drone activity from a high altitude outside the combat zone. All collected data was continuously transmitted to the F-35C fighters operating offshore. Thanks to their advanced distributed aperture and electro-optical targeting systems, the F-35Cs could distinguish individual groups of low-flying drones maneuverment without emitting a single radar signal. But here's where it gets interesting. The situation suddenly changed when part of the Iranian drone formation abruptly broke away from its approach toward the United States fleet. Instead of heading out to sea, they began to descend, hugging the mountain slopes and the southern coastline of the island. Just minutes later, consolidated data from the Triton and the F-35C indicated something alarming. The new flight path of this drone group was heading straight toward the Navy SEALs landing zone. The risk of the operation being compromised became immediately apparent. With absolutely no time to wait, the on-duty MH-60R Seahawk helicopters and F/A-18E Super Hornets received orders to conduct an emergency intercept. They had to act before the Iranian drones could get close enough to detect the special forces closing in on Precious Jewel. By 3:43 a.m., the Iranian drones that had just changed course did not escape American surveillance. However, the constant maneuvers by the Seahawks and Super Hornets to prevent them from approaching the landing zone inadvertently alerted the IRGC. It became obvious that the United States was protecting a specific area rather than the entire sea around Kesham. To Iranian commanders, this was a clear sign that a high-value target was present near the island. The IRGC activated its entire electronic warfare network at Kesham and Bandar Abbas, causing widespread interference with GPS, data links, and satellite communications. Realizing Iran was attempting to gain complete control of the electromagnetic spectrum, the EA-18G Growlers immediately entered the fray. From outside the danger zone, they used the next-generation jammer to concentrate powerful jamming on key IRG transmitters. This kicked off a fierce electronic confrontation between the two sides. Every time Iran changed frequencies or jamming methods, the Growlers quickly adjusted to keep the United States combat network fully operational. Meanwhile, the MQ-4C Triton remained positioned outside the area of heaviest jamming, continuing to provide critical surveillance data on the activities of Iranian drones and electronic stations. This data was transmitted directly to the F-35C fighters, where the advanced sensor fusion system continuously cross-referenced information from multiple sources. This allowed them to filter out false targets and maintain a highly reliable battlefield picture. As the minutes ticked by, neither side gained a clear advantage in the electronic warfare standoff. Iran continued to expand its jamming operations, while the Growlers and F-35Cs responded continuously to maintain a safe corridor for the operation. Meanwhile, the Navy SEAL team was quietly closing in on Precious Jewel, using the chaos in the air to conceal their final approach. But time was rapidly running out. As United States commanders checked the mission clock, an alarming number appeared on the screen. Less than 90 minutes remained before the eastern sky would begin to lighten. While the electronic warfare standoff between the Growlers and the IRG network continued in the air, another threat was silently emerging beneath the water. Hours earlier, 2 Ghadir midget submarines had been lying in wait in the shallow waters around Kesham, ready to ambush the United States Special Forces. At 3:53 a.m., one of the 2 Ghadir submarines began detecting unusual signals off the southern coast of the island. Although the sonar data was not yet clear enough to confirm the target, the submarine commander suspected it might be part of the support force for the American operation. After a few minutes of monitoring, the Ghadir commander decided to fire. A torpedo launched from the tube, heading straight for the suspected area. An alert immediately flashed across the United States combat system. MH-60R Seahawk helicopters operating offshore tracked the enemy submarine's location while simultaneously implementing countermeasures to divert the incoming torpedo. Just moments before reaching the target, the torpedo lost its lock-on and veered harmlessly away from the area. Tactically, Iran failed to hit any targets, but the attack completely exposed the SEAL's support area and recovery point. With no other option, the Virginia-class submarine was forced to abandon the original recovery plan. It maneuvered to a secondary recovery point located much farther away. This meant the SEAL team would have to significantly extend their withdrawal route after completing the mission, all while Iran was tightening its siege around the island. The situation continued to deteriorate when the MQ-4C Triton detected a dangerous new maneuver by Iran. From Bandar Abbas, dozens of IRG fast attack boats began leaving the port at high speed, simultaneously heading toward the combat zone. On United States monitoring screens, these signals quickly coalesced into a massive response force heading straight toward Kesham Island. The pursuit was no longer confined to the air or underwater. Iran was beginning to flood the area with surface forces just as the operation entered its most critical phase. By 4:10 a.m., after the initial recovery point was compromised and the high-speed boats departing from Bandar Abbas were redirected, the IRG concluded that a major special operation was underway around Kesham. They immediately shifted to a full-scale counterattack to prevent the target from disappearing into the darkness of the Strait of Hormuz. Within minutes, more suicide drones were launched into the air. Dozens of fast attack boats sped out of port, while the remaining operational surveillance radars around Kesham and Bandar Abbas simultaneously switched to active search mode to track any signs of intrusion. On the American side, real-time data from the MQ-4C Triton, the offshore Seahawk helicopters, and the Aegis destroyer network was continuously integrated. This data was transmitted to the F-35C fighters, where the sensor fusion system processed the entire information stream to create a unified battlefield picture. This enabled commanders to simultaneously monitor the activities of drones, high-speed boats, and Iranian radar clusters that were constantly changing by the minute. To ensure a safe corridor for the Navy SEAL team approaching the target, EA-18G Growlers began focusing their efforts on jamming the IRG most critical early warning radars. This caused each radar cluster to be successively jammed, completely stripping away their ability to track accurately. This significantly reduced surveillance coverage across the entire Kesham area. However, just as the situation seemed to be tilting in America's favor, a brand new alert suddenly appeared on the integrated data display of the F-35Cs. At 4:18 a.m., hidden deep near the Precious Jewel area, a backup radar was discovered operating intermittently. It used short, extremely hard-to-detect transmission cycles. Unlike the previously jammed systems, it did not maintain continuous emissions. Instead, it only activated in short bursts to monitor the area around the target, just enough to pose a fatal threat if it detected any unusual signs from the infiltrating forces. In that moment, the risk of the entire operation being compromised became clearer than ever. With no other option, the EA-18G Growler immediately directed the full power of its next-generation jammer toward this final target. Meanwhile, off the coast of Kesham, MH-60R Seahawk helicopters armed with Hellfire and advanced precision kill weapon system missiles coordinated with F/A-18E Super Hornets. They continued intercepting the fast attack boats accelerating toward the combat zone. At the same time, Arleigh Burke-class destroyers deployed multi-directional intercepts to prevent the outer perimeter from being breached by absolutely decisive for the entire operation. When the signal from the backup radar suddenly vanished from the monitoring screen, a brief surveillance gap finally opened directly above Precious Jewel, providing the sole opportunity the Navy SEAL team could exploit to infiltrate the target. At 4:30 a.m., the brief gap in surveillance around Precious Jewel was immediately exploited by the Navy SEAL team. They crossed the final shallow water zone before approaching the rugged coastal cliffs of Kesham. Beneath the pitch-black waves of the Strait of Hormuz, the swimmer delivery vehicles slowed down. They broke formation into small groups, hugging the underwater terrain closely to avoid detection by surface radar or coastal infrared cameras. Upon reaching the entrance leading to the underwater complex, the SEAL quickly transitioned to the close-in phase of the assault. Directional explosives were simultaneously deployed at 3 critical points: the Drone Command Center, the GPS spoofing server cluster, and the Electronic Warfare Control Room. Each location was rigged to detonate in a short, precise sequence. This ensured the entire IRGC command and navigation chain would be paralyzed within the exact same time frame. At 4:45 a.m., the simultaneous timer signals triggered. A series of massive explosions ripped through the underground structure within the cliff face. The shockwave spread instantly, collapsing the entire command and control system inside Precious Jewel. This caused the IRGC drone and electronic warfare networks in the Strait of Hormuz to lose connectivity almost instantly. On the surface, auxiliary radar stations began to malfunction, shutting down one by one due to catastrophic power overload. Immediately after planting the explosives, the SEAL team withdrew along a predetermined route. They returned to the deep waters where the Virginia-class attack submarine was waiting at the secondary rendezvous point. The recovery operation took place in absolute silence, utilizing residual electromagnetic interference to conceal their withdrawal from the area. The IRGC Rapid Response Force eventually approached Kesham Island, but all they found was a completely destroyed underground complex, with smoke and flames still rising from the collapsed rock walls. Precious Jewel, the most critical drone and electronic warfare coordination center in the Strait of Hormuz, was no longer operational, leaving a prolonged command vacuum across the entire operational area. The true highlight of this entire campaign lies in how the next-generation jammer operated. It does not simply create broad, clumsy area jamming. Instead, it bends signals in a highly selective manner, focusing precisely on the most critical radar or command node. Instead of blinding the entire area, it creates precise blind spots within the enemy defense chain. When operating in conjunction with the EA-18G Growler and the F-35C Lightning II, the Growler performs directional jamming, while the F-35C acts as a filter and reconstructs the battlefield picture. This enables United States forces to maintain clear visibility while the enemy's data is completely distorted. The core principle at play here is the vital node effect. A multi-layered defense system does not collapse due to widespread destruction. It collapses because the loss of a single critical link causes the entire chain of surveillance and response to self-disrupt. The more Iran expanded its jamming efforts, the less the Growler actually needed to do. Simply locking onto a single target was enough to pull the entire network out of its stable state and secure a total victory. If you got value from this video, smash that like button, it really helps the channel. And subscribe to Navy Exclusive for more deep dives like this. Hit the bell so you never miss an analysis when it drops. Thanks for watching. If you found this video